Protect your car with 3W Liners all-weather floor mats. Made from durable materials like TPE and rubber, our mats are designed to withstand rain, snow, and mud with deep grooves to trap dirt and liquids. For a custom fit and advanced protection, visit 3W Liners. That's the number 3, WLINERS.com today. Acasis, innovation drives us. Since 2008, we've been creating cutting-edge technology products that make your life easier. With a focus on performance, design, and customer service, we're here to help you work smarter, not harder. Join us on our journey to simplify your world. Visit Acasis.com today. That's ACASIS.com today.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farms, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com. Unlock a world of convenience with Mully Box, your one-stop solution for personalized subscription boxes delivered right to your door. From gourmet snacks to unique finds, each box is tailored to your tastes. Experience the joy of surprises. Subscribe today at mullybox.com. That's MULLYBOX.com. We are Rogue Media Sports.
Welcome into the Cam Show. I am your host, Zach Burke, not Cam Stewart, as we are dealing with some technical difficulties out in Chicago today, but don't worry, we still have plenty of great Boston sports talk to get to, and also some great segments from throughout the week that if you weren't around to watch and get to listen to, you'll have the chance to now. Obviously, some big news going on with the Red Sox with the trade of Rafi Devers. Cam broke down that a lot this week. Some great takes you should go check out on YouTube if you haven't yet. But another thing that came up then was the Red Sox and a potential trade for Robert Acuna that he'll get into and talk about more. That's one of the segments we'll dive into today. And then we got some hockey coming up as well. What are the Bruins necessarily going to do when it comes to the draft? They have a bit of a dilemma on who to pick. Cam breaks that down. And also a look at Brad Marchand and Stanley Cup win, Marchand and his Stanley Cup win. So a lot of hockey talk to get in there too. And I think that the best place to start off for today is with baseball and that Ronald Acuna talk and a potential trade from the Red Sox and what that might look like.
The Rafi Devers trade is done. It's over. He does not play for the Red Sox anymore. You really didn't get much in return. The only thing that you can kind of silver line here is the fact that they got $250 million back in a way. The Giants are taking all of that. So now you got money. And that's the thing that the optimistic Red Sox fans are throwing out there. Now you can go out and make some moves, right? Trade deadline and maybe next free agency. That's, I don't know that you got any better as a trade candidate after the Rafi Devers trade, but there's certainly still some flexibility there for sure. So how do the Red Sox actually do that? How do the Red Sox make a move that is actually going to make the Rafi Devers trade worth it? Well, The Athletic put out their big board of top trade candidates looking, a month and a half ahead of the trade deadline. And the Red Sox had 2 of the top 10 guys still, even after trading Rafi Devers. Amazingly, I don't think he was going to make the list. But at number 8 is Wilyer Abreu on that list. And at number 1, the best trade chip in all of baseball, Jarren Duran. We've talked about this trade before, what the packages might be. Philadelphia, San Diego, LA, Seattle was high up on that list. They got a great farm system. And there are absolutely some ones that I would trade Jarren Duran for. Duran has dipped a little bit in this 24 season, but he's still a super valuable player, mainly at his contract, right? He's not even ARB eligible yet. Like he's getting paid peanuts. And he was a top 10 guy in AL MVP voting last year, led the league in doubles and triples, and was the All-Star Game MVP. He's a terror on the base pass. He's an above average outfielder defensively, still a good top of the order kind of hitter. In fact, The Athletic says, to be clear, there's little reason for Boston to even entertain offers for Duran unless the return is substantial. His production has predictably fallen short of his 2024 breakout, but Duran remains a solidly above average hitter with lots of speed and the ability to play center field and play it fairly well. Okay. And so we went over those trade packages last week. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend going on the YouTube channel and finding that. We broke it down in detail. I loved the Phillies, what they could give you with Andrew Painter, the number 5 prospect in all of baseball, their top prospect, the pitcher, who's now in AAA. But I think San Diego gives you the best deal. Jeremiah Estrada, a hard-throwing reliever, but possibly their best prospect and the number 2 prospect in baseball behind Roman Anthony, Leo DeVries, the shortstop, coming in as a big part of that deal as well. I love that kind of offer. Then I got thrown for a loop this morning, and doing my research, it made more sense than you think. What if the Red Sox make a trade in a package involving, of course, Jarren Duran? What if the Red Sox make a trade for Ronald Acuna Jr.? Stick with me here because I know it sounds nuts. Okay, I know people are firing up in the comments right now. But Jarren Duran is a legit trade piece, right? A top 10 MVP voting guy. Obviously, Ronald Acuna Jr. has finished top 1 in the MVP voting his last real healthy season back in 2023. He's one of the top players in all of baseball. But with all of this kind of flexibility now, the Red Sox have the opportunity to go out and get one of the biggest fish in baseball. Okay? You've got guys like Jarren Duran, Wilyer Abreu, Brian Bayo, Tanner Houck. All 4 of those guys. I'll even throw Ceddanne Rafaela in there, a third outfielder in there. All 5 of those guys are on cheap contracts at the beginning of their careers and are major league contributors right now. Duran's an all-star. Tanner Houck was an all-star last year. Brian Bayo looks to be a top-of-the-rotation guy. William Abreu won a Gold Glove last year. Ceddanne Raphael is going to win a couple of Gold Gloves in his major league career. All of them, team control, low cost. Okay? So you can throw any of those two guys in there, plus prospects 2 through 4 in your system. Franklin Arias, Luis Perales, Josh Nixon Garcia, the password, and even someone like Christian Campbell, who, again, rookie, bright future, one of the top prospects in baseball coming into this year, team-controlled, cheap contract, 8 years. It's the same thing for Rafaela. It's the same thing for Bayo. And you've still got Abreu, Duran, and Tanner Houck all on their rookie deals. So I'll give you 2 of those major league guys and 3 prospects in one of the top farm systems in baseball to the Atlanta Braves for Ronald Acuna Jr. Why would the Red Sox do that? That's pretty obvious. Why would the Braves do that? Well, there are a couple of reasons why. First off, they've got the 26th ranked prospect pool, farm system in all of baseball. Okay, this is not the Braves of 5 years ago. They are desperate to replenish that farm system. And you're going to get a good haul because Ronald Acuna Jr. is possibly on the best contract in all of baseball. I want to shout out and give a clip to one of my favorite podcasters, and that's called Podcast Doesn't Exist. Does a ton of baseball content. And I watched this a few weeks ago, and it reminded me of it. Ronald Acuna Jr. has plenty of reasons to be angry with the Atlanta Braves. That's more or less the title of the video. And when talking about the contract and how cheap it is and how much longer it goes, here's what Podcast Doesn't Exist, how they break it down, and why this would tickle the Red Sox nipples 5 ways to Sunday.
When he's healthy, his contract right now is only the 65th most valuable in the sport. He's only the 6th highest paid player on his own team. Austin Riley signed for 2 times what Acuna signed for. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. got 5 times more money. Tatis, Trey Turner, and Devers got contracts 3 times more valuable than Acuna's. Arenado, Bogarts, Carlos Correa all got at least 2 times more than Acuna. Even his ex-teammate, Charlie Morton, who is 41 years old, he has an ERA over 10 so far this season, is getting paid more than Ronald Acuna Jr.
He's signed through 2029 at just over $10 million a year. Like, that is way better than the Rafi Devers contract. And of course, that is going to take an elite haul to bring him in. But here are the Braves, man, just kind of spinning wheels, puttering out yet again. No real hard looks towards their future with guys who are oft injured, guys who haven't lived up to the contracts, guys like Riley, guys like Spencer Strider, and not knowing what their availabilities are going to be for the next couple of years. Here is a chance for both teams to retool on the fly, not rebuild, not strip it all down, even though that's what it's going to feel like if the Braves give up an MVP, but really kind of retool. You know, for the Braves, you replenish your farm system. For the Red Sox, you get a top-of-the-line major league player at no extra cost from what you had for Rafi Devers. In fact, it's about half the cost of Rafi Devers when you take it all into account. That is a huge deal for both teams. Now, of course, the Red Sox will feel like the winners of that trade, but if you're the Braves front office, you are still replenishing your farm system, and you're getting a couple of legit roster players at very, very, very cheap. Like, all those, if I gave you 5 or 6 guys in this trade, they're not going to add up to Ronald Acuna Jr.'s AAV. They're not going to. And there's also this drama. There's also this beef. It's been going on with the Braves and Ronald Acuna for years. Ronald Acuna is a little pissed that he signed that deal, but hey, you signed that deal. He fired his agent over it, okay? That they went with the Braves model and he wasn't going to hit the open market at the right time. Instead, he's getting paid this $130 million deal. He's locked in for a couple of more years, and it's one of the best value contracts in all of baseball, if not number one. This is a guy who had 40 homers and 70 stolen bases 2 years ago. Like we're talking about when he's healthy, because he's had a couple injuries. When he's healthy, he is one of the 5 or 6 best position players in all of baseball. And I don't think that's even close to a stretch. But there's always been something, kind of like with Rafi Devers this year with the Red Sox. There's always been something between the Braves and Acuna. Remember the whole eye black thing? They didn't like the way he wore his eye black, and Freddie Freeman went up and wiped it off his face. The Braves were pissed off at how he wore his hat. He would wear his hat in interviews, kind of like this. And they were like, "Don't do that." And they pissed him off. They scolded him for doing that. There's just always been something. There's always been a rift between Ronald Acuna Jr. and the Braves. And I get the irony here that the Red Sox just traded their best player for a bit of a rift. But I think those things that we hear from Ronald Acuna Jr. and the things that we heard about Rafael Devers, one of them's being a bad teammate. One of them just isn't kind of quite expressing himself the way you want to. Right? There hasn't been a lot of questions about Ronald Acuna Jr., the teammate. Okay. And again, with how the Red Sox reacted with guys like Jarren Duran after this trade of Rafi Devers, they were kind of like, yep, we got 25 guys here. He's not one of them. We're moving on. Nobody was shedding tears, it sounds like, in that Red Sox locker room that Devers was traded. And certainly not Christian Campbell, who offered to play first base, and apparently Devers got pissed at him for it. So if you're the Red Sox, I'd throw in Christian Campbell in that deal. And I really like Christian Campbell. I know he's struggling right now. I think he's going to be a real good major leaguer for a long time. But one of those 3 guys, one of that, Roman Anthony, Marcelo Meyer, Christian Campbell, one of those 2 guys that's not Roman Anthony, I would seriously consider throwing them in a deal and centering a package around them for Ronald Acuna Jr. This is the kind of move the Red Sox need to make in order to justify this trade that they just made. Okay? It's not going to be, for another middle of the rotation kind of arm. It's not going to be for a top-end relief pitcher. It's not going to be for a utility guy. It's not going to be for a fringe all-star. The thing that justifies saving that $250 million because of the Rafi Devers trade is to go out and get a superstar. And here's an opportunity, man. The Braves, most people didn't think the Red Sox were sick of Rafi Devers. Most people don't think the Braves are sick of Ronald Acuna Jr. But there's constantly been a rift. It's always been something. And his health is another thing. He missed all last season, basically. So there is cause for the Braves, where their farm system is at, where they're at with Ronald Acuna Jr., what the next 3 or 4 years of the Atlanta Braves looks like. And there's also cause for the Red Sox. After making this trade, you've got to do something big to get a superstar in here before the start of next season, or else people are losing their jobs, or else Red Sox fans aren't showing up and giving you the best game day revenue in all of baseball. And if they do, they're going to be wearing paper bags over their heads saying, sell the team. They're sick of this shit. They're sick of being told, yeah, we have to trade your favorite player, the best player on our team, our homegrown guy. We can't afford them. We're the Red Sox. All of a sudden, we can't afford them. We could for decades, and now we can't. Oh, yeah, and we're going to charge the most expensive tickets in all of baseball. They're sick of this shit. Something like Ronald Acuna Jr., that would change a lot of minds about this Red Sox franchise going forward, and it would save some jobs in that front office. It might even save the AI bots job who's doing all the interviewing. You might be able to keep Hal on board, the fucking computer who's interviewing your baseball ops people. So I know it sounds crazy. I know it does. And the likelihood of it happening is not great. But don't tell me it doesn't make a little bit of sense here. Ronald Acuna Jr. for a massive package given by the Red Sox. And hey, if you need to dump some salary to Atlanta, we'll take Chris Sale back in that deal. How about that? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Does that actually make sense? Would you do that from a Red Sox standpoint, and who would you give up for Ronald Acuna Jr.? Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you think the Red Sox need to make a big move with this extra money. And of course, find us on YouTube, high noon Eastern time, every weekday and then wherever you get your podcasts as well. Check out the other videos on the channel talking about this trade, talking about the Red Sox, and everything else going on in Boston sports. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air 5 days a week.
We'll be right back after these quick words from our sponsors. This is Rogue Media Network.
At Open Goal USA, we're revolutionizing training for both soccer and lacrosse with our innovative portable rebounders. Perfect for players of all ages and skill levels, our rebounders improve accuracy, control, and technique in both sports. Built with premium materials for durability and ease of use, they're ideal for training anywhere, anytime. Whether you're perfecting your soccer game or sharpening your lacrosse skills, Open Goal USA has you covered. Visit OpenGoAAALUSA.com and elevate your training today.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious. Find your blend at hempdelicious.com.
Introducing Muck-Off's classic pink bike cleaner, powered by revolutionary nanotechnology that breaks down dirt and grime on a microscopic level while protecting your bike's delicate finish. Developed by our mad developer Alex and tested by riders, our products are made by riders for riders. Discover more at us.muc-off.com, where we break the mold to bring you the best in bike care.
Visit roguemediamusic.com for more music.
Are you ready to take control of your health? At 4U Health, we believe wellness and lab testing should be accessible, inclusive, and yes, fun. With our tech-powered at-home lab test, you save time and money while feeling your best. Say goodbye to long waits and office visits. Check your health on your own terms with 4U Health. Visit 4uhealth.com today and free yourself from traditional medicine. That's the number 4uhealth.com.
And now, back to our show.
A week ahead of the NHL draft, and the Bruins have something I don't think a lot of people thought they would really have, and that is legitimate options at the number 7 pick. I mean, 7 is not a very desirable place to be in any draft, right? In any sport. It's good, but not great, and you're missing some of the best prospects that go out there. But the Bruins suddenly kind of feel like they're in a good spot, because when they missed out on a top 4 pick, it felt like, oh man, they're not going to be able to get James Higgins, the center from BC, who looked like he was going to be the number 1 pick in the draft going into this season. And then he slid down to about the 3 or 4 spot. And now he's sliding a little bit more. And there's some questions about his physicality and whether it translates to the NHL. So a guy that Bruins fans were looking at all season long, playing in their backyard, and James Higgins, all of a sudden, he could be available. Craig Button put out his final Craig's List of the NHL draft. I'm going to, of course, just highlight this part of the draft where the Bruins are in. And look at that. He's got James Higgins at number 8, meaning the Bruins would pass on him for another center, Caleb Desnoyers. Wouldn't that be a massive, massive story? I saw this and I thought, huh? Really? I still don't see a world where the Bruins pass on James Higgins. But the more I looked into it, the more I thought, maybe it's not the worst thing in the world if they do. And that's not even a knock on Higgins, but that is pumping the tires of Caleb Desnoyers. But first, let's look at James Higgins, right? The Bruins know they need to go center. And here's a potential top, not definitely, but definitely projects as a top 6 center in the NHL and a terrific playmaker in James Higgins out of Boston College. It's a guy who's played in your backyard the whole season. Again, coming out of the U.S. National Development Team last year, like they thought he was going to be the number 1 pick in the draft in 2025, going into his 1 season at BC. And the numbers are fine. I mean, good. He's a point-a-game guy, 37 points in 37 games. He is a playmaker first, 11 goals to 26 assists. And he had actually his best hockey at the World Juniors. I think he had 9 points in 7 games, had 5 goals in those 7 games, which is way better than the pace he put on at BC with 11 in 37. He played obviously with some terrifically talented players in the World Juniors, but played with a lot of BC teammates as well. And Hagans was one of the stars, but so was Ryan Leonard. So was Cole Hudson, who led the tournament in points as a defenseman. He'll be picked at the first round next year, coming out of BU. Teddy Stiga, a BC teammate, scored the game-winning goal in that tournament. So it wasn't exactly the James Hagans show. He was good, but again, didn't take it over like some of these guys have in the past. Not like that great Austin Matthews, Jack Eichel battle back in 2014. You know, it's not quite that. But he's still a very productive player at the center position and is a great playmaker. Terrific skater, definitely. That's what he's been praised for all along, is his playmaking and his skating. But it's actually come back to bite him because he is starting to drop down the draft board a little bit. And here's what The Athletic wrote about why he's falling all of a sudden to that 7, 8, 9 range. Said there are a few variables. While he played well this season, evaluators have minor questions about how Hagans' game would translate to the NHL. At BC, he had stretches this season where he was hard to notice at even strength and had too many games where he was invisible. And I did watch a lot of BC this year, watched a lot of college hockey. When I watched BC, it never looked like Hagans was the best player on the ice. You know, it looked like Leonard or Perreault or Gasso at times. It didn't exactly look like James Hagans. The Athletic goes on to say, he struggled to consistently get to the inside against bigger college defenders. He also struggled to score goals, 11 in 37 games. At barely 5'11" and without a physical edge, his profile becomes harder to project as a top-line NHL center who you can win with. His compete level was decent, looked good at the World Juniors, but I wouldn't call it a standout trait. They go on to say, by the way, if Hagans turns out to be the most offensively productive player from this class, I wouldn't be shocked. And frankly, I would call him the most purely talented offensive player in the class. But winning in the NHL is more about scoring. Several players, such as Misa, Anton Frundell, Desnoyers, or Porter Martone, may go ahead of Hagans simply because of the profile they project. Bigger two-way players, most as centers, is more valuable to NHL teams than a dynamic scoring small player who may or may not be an NHL center. So that becomes the next question. You know, we had it with the Patriots. Is Will Campbell an NFL tackle? That's the question about James Hagans. Is he an NHL center at that frame and that play style? He can play on the wing. You know, he did that with the U.S. National Development Team program. And he did it a little bit at BC in pinches. He can play on the wing. And there are some NHL scouts that think that is the way he ends up. And if you're looking at the Bruins from a draft standpoint, I know they're going to be focused on center because most teams are at the top of the draft anyway, and the Bruins desperately need one. But the Bruins also really need talent, really need talent. The center is not a great position, but when you look at the bottom 3 lines on the wing, it's really not better, okay? Especially without Marchand in there. It's not better than what you have at center. So you need talent at any position. And so I think if James Hagans is available there at 7, with how much they've watched him this year, with a guy whose job's on the line, hopefully, in Don Sweeney, it's much easier to sell to the fans. BC kid, was going to be the number 1 pick, dropped to us at 7. Again, to use another sport, kind of the way Marcelo Meyer did to the Red Sox. He was probably the best player in that draft. He fell to them at 3, and they said, all right, we'll take him. And now look at him. James Hagans could be that same kind of thing of like, hey, he's the most offensively talented player in the class, we think. Just from a skill standpoint, he plays the position. We saw him in our backyard. He's got some versatility. That doesn't mean he's going to automatically be, a 70-point scoring winger, but he does have some traits that could play wing in the NHL. That said, Hagans doesn't have the hype that he had a few months ago. I don't know if the skill's anywhere different, but he doesn't have the hype. And so I look back at this Craig's final list here, and they've got Caleb Desnoyers going to the Bruins at number 7. There's got to be a reason for that. That's what I thought. I've done a little bit of research on all these guys, right? Desnoyers, Brady Martin, Roger McQueen. By the way, do not pick Roger McQueen. Don't do it. Hopefully he's not available for the Bruins to fuck that up at number 7. Anton Frundell, some of these guys, Victor Eklund even a little bit. But I'm like, what is the deal? Why would the Bruins be taking Desnoyers over James Higgins? And the research is fascinating, okay? So Caleb Desnoyers, playing in the QMJHL for Moncton, averaged over 1.5 points a game, okay? Like, was still pretty stupid in terms of his scoring, 84 points in 56 games, 35 goals and 49 assists. Hell of a playmaker, much like Higgins in that way. He's a pass-first kind of guy. And then what really stuck out to me about Caleb Desnoyers, that is something that you can't just instill in a player, okay? And it's super, super valuable when you can get it. Everywhere he goes, the kid wins. Okay? He wins. He just turned 18 years old 2 months ago. And already he has won the U17 World Championship, the U18 World Championship, the Gretzky Cup. And this year, his Moncton Wildcats won the Q. They won the QMJHL Championship. And who was the Guy Lafleur Award winner for playoff MVP but Caleb Desnoyers? In 19 postseason games, he had 30 points. He led them to this title as an 18-year-old. Like, if you're looking for that 200-foot center, that guy you're going to try to turn into Patrice Bergeron or David Krejci even, who's less defensively sound than Bergeron was. I think Caleb Desnoyers is going to be your best bet at number 7. I'm not saying he's going to become Patrice Bergeron. But of those centers, like James Higgins, McQueen, even Martone, like any of those forwards, he is the best two-way player out of all of them. Okay, and of course he's got things he could still work on. He's not as good a skater as James Higgins is. I don't think he would fall in the elite category when it comes to that. But the guy's a winner. He's defensively responsible. He is sound. And he's shooting up the draft boards. This from Central Scouting, who has him at number 7. Caleb Desnoyers' draft stock is as high as ever. 6'2", by the way, at James Higgins, barely scratching 5'11". He's slight. He's still about 178, just under 180 pounds. But at 6'2", that does allow for a ton of growth, especially on the defensive side of things. 6'2" center is a superb playmaker with some of the best hockey IQ in the class, which has been the main driver of his offensive results. In all fairness, James Higgins is a hell of a hockey IQ guy as well. Following a terrific regular season in the Quebec Maritimes Junior Hockey League, he has taken his play to the next level in the playoffs. With all three zones, upside in all three zones, what it should say, on top of his offensive abilities, Desnoyers is poised to be selected with a top pick in the draft. Starting with his regular season production, 35 goals, 84 points, 56 games, 1.5 a game, ranked second in the QMJHL and first comfortably among teenagers. He's the 5th draft year skater with at least 20 games played to reach that mark in the past decade, most recently obtained by Jordan Dumais, the Blue Jackets prospect back in 21 and 22. But here's where I want to emphasize again this part of the write-up. But Desnoyers' production has soared in the postseason, and his rise in shooting percentage, up just over 2.5% to 22%, doesn't indicate unsustainable point scoring. With 30 points, 9 goals and 21 assists in 16 games, he not only leads the queue, but has a historic 1.88 point per game rate en route to winning the title. Among draft year players with at least 10 playoff games this century, only Nathan MacKinnon. Okay, let me do this again. Among draft year players with at least 10 playoff games in the queue this century, only Nathan MacKinnon, Sidney Crosby, Jonathan Drouin, and Jakub Voracek have reached 1.8 points per game. All were selected in the top 7. Voracek had a good run. Drouin, disappointment. Nathan MacKinnon and Sidney Crosby. Like, that's the kind of company he's keeping right now. And again, I'd said his defensive game needs a little bit of work, even though he is one of the best 3-zone players in this draft. Who does he model his game after? He said, Jonathan Toews. Not quite Patrice Bergeron, but a pretty good guy to model his game after. And I think a Bergeron style, like when you get him in that system with the Bruins, especially with these guys who have played with him, Pastrnak, McAvoy, some of these guys who have coached him, that's maybe the only upside of keeping some of these assistant coaches. And maybe, God willing, if Brad Marchand comes back, although I doubt it, like they could make him into, like that is the easiest prototype of a player to try to make into a Patrice Bergeron. I'm so critical of the Bruins trying to do that with guys like Charlie Coyle or Matt Poitras. Like those guys aren't that. They're not even close to that. But when you look at a draft profile of a guy like Caleb Desnoyers, he does have those traits. I'm not saying he's Patrice Bergeron, but it's much easier to mold this kid into him than Charlie Coyle or Matt Poitras or even James Higgins. So I'm sitting here on June the 19th, a week before the draft, and saying, if the Bruins have to choose between Caleb Desnoyers and James Higgins at number 7 in the draft, I'm taking Desnoyers. Maybe that's just me reading into the bullshit a little bit of like, oh, he's a winner. Maybe it's me being the BU fan, although I was watching James Higgins to see him as a BC Bruins prospect the whole season. But I just love the intangibles of Desnoyers' game. I love how he elevated himself in the playoffs. And you look at the winning, like that does mean something. BC was the number 1 ranked team going into the NCAA season this year. And they were number 1 for a good bit of it. And yet they lost in the Beanpot Championship. They lost in the Hockey East tournament, and they did not make the Frozen Four. Hockey East regular season championship is something, don't get me wrong. But when you stack that up beside a U17 gold medal, a U18 gold medal, a Gretzky Cup gold medal, and a QMJHL championship and a playoff MVP award, with a guy almost at 1.9 points per game in a postseason, I think the Bruins would regret not taking Caleb Desnoyers if they let him go and get James Higgins. And I do think Higgins could be a good player. I do. But Caleb Desnoyers has all that upside plus an intangible that you can't teach and that your team really, really needs. Winners. You need some winners. You need guys who will do anything it takes to win. And so far in his short career, as a kid who's just barely 18, Caleb Desnoyers does that. So that's my pick. Who is yours? Who are you picking for the Boston Bruins at number 7, especially according to Craig's final list? Let me know in the comment section below. Like and subscribe if you think the Bruins need to nail this number 7 pick, or do they need to trade it? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to find us on YouTube, high noon Eastern time, live every weekday, and then wherever you get your podcasts as well. Check out the other videos on the channel, talking Bruins, talking everything else Boston sports. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air 5 days a week.
We'll be right back after these quick words from our sponsors. This is Rogue Media Network.
At Fullwell, we bring together the expertise of registered dietitians, MDs, and OBGYNs to give you the best fertility support. Our research-backed bioavailable formulas are crafted with your health in mind, ensuring the highest quality and safety. From preconception to pregnancy and beyond, we exceed industry standards with independent testing for harmful contaminants. With our comprehensive practitioner directory, personalized care is always within reach. Fullwell, your trusted partner on your fertility journey. Visit us at fullwellfertility.com. Experience the perfect blend of exquisite craftsmanship and life-changing technology with Gevi. Every product is built with precision, featuring specialized parts that ensure durability, efficiency, and safety. We put every machine through 6,000 rigorous tests to guarantee long-lasting performance. With cutting-edge technology and a commitment to energy efficiency, Gevi makes your life easier, greener, and more convenient. Upgrade your everyday with Gevi. Visit us at gevi.com to discover more. That's gevi.com.
With San, owning iconic furniture no longer requires paying a premium. We use the finest materials like Italian top-grain leather, known for its durability and luxurious feel, and apply meticulous attention to detail in every piece we create. Our replicas are crafted with the same care and precision as the originals, but a price that makes them accessible. With over 15,000 satisfied customers worldwide, we've proven that high-quality furniture doesn't have to come with a high price tag. Explore our collection today at sarn.com.
At Covers & All, we've revolutionized protective solutions with cutting-edge, customizable covers, tarps, and curtains. Using advanced tech fabrics that are 100% waterproof, UV tear, and abrasion resistant, we ensure lasting durability with hand-sewn double-stitch seams. Our commitment to quality, precision engineering, and customizable options is unmatched. With vertically integrated operations and express shipping, we deliver premier protection at affordable prices. Visit coversandall.com today for the perfect fit, guaranteed to last.
And now, back to our show.
It's been a hell of a week for Boston sports and their trades and the effects of their trades. Because not only did the Red Sox trade Rafi Devers to the Giants this weekend, but yesterday, one of the recent trade departures from Boston, Brad Marchand, won his second Stanley Cup and was looking pretty damn good doing it. Yep, the Panthers did it for the second year in a row. Brad Marchand probably finished second in the Conn Smythe voting, if I had to guess. He was electric in the final. He had 6 goals in the Stanley Cup final, he was the first guy to do that since Esa Tikkanen did it against the Bruins in 1990. And then all it took was a Sam Reinhart 4-goal game in Game 6 to surpass that and be the first one to 7 in the Stanley Cup final since Wayne Gretzky back in 1985. But you see Brad Marchand, 14 years apart, Stanley Cup champion. One is a second-year guy in the league. The next is a 37-year-old. The family looked much bigger. It wasn't just his sisters and his parents in the stands like in Vancouver. He had his wife out there, stepson, couple of daughters as well. It was really like a touching moment for me to watch last night. Like I hate the Panthers. I root for Marchand. I wish he didn't have to do it with them, but like for all the shit he went through in between Stanley Cups, and I'm talking about, crucial losses. You see the 2019 one right there. 2013, they lose in the final. Some of the drama that happened at the end, some of the things that I get bugged about with how the Bruins run their organization. It is really nice to see them, to see Marchand lift the cup again and to see him be so valued at a place. It was pretty cool. But what I also saw after the game was a bunch of social media stuff. I think Chicklets was the first one. It was like these pictures of Marchand with the cup as a Panther. And it said, tag a Bruins fan to ruin their day. Or like, take that, Don Sweeney. And I had 2 prevailing thoughts out of this. First off, it's like, you're not going to ruin our day. All right. The Bruins already do that. Like, you know what I mean? They didn't. It's not like Brad Marchand beat the Bruins in the conference final and got to the Stanley Cup final and won. Like that doesn't do it. And it's not like Brad Marchand left in free agency. Okay. He was traded. He wanted to go to the Panthers, it seems like. But honestly, who wouldn't? Like seriously, who wouldn't? It's not Montreal. It's not Toronto. It's not even Philadelphia, man. I know we hate the Panthers now, but they're the best organization in the National Hockey League right now, and he knew his play could fit right in. I don't even bash him for that. The other part of this, like, you're not going to piss me off because of this, because the Bruins already pissed me off, all right? I'm just as pissed off as 31 other teams that the Panthers won the Stanley Cup. No more, no less. The other part of this is that still, even after seeing Brad Marchand do this and win the cup again, and how it might just sting a little bit, especially with how good he was in the final, I don't think Don Sweeney made a bad move by trading him. Do I think the return could have been better? Yes. I said that at the time. It makes even more sense now with how valuable he was in the postseason. But in a vacuum, the Bruins trading Brad Marchand where they were in this season was not the wrong move. It wasn't. They weren't going anywhere. And no team with Brad Marchand as their second best forward this year was going to sniff anywhere near a Stanley Cup. He goes to Florida. He's about their 6th best forward. super valuable in the postseason for sure, because he had a much different role on this team than he would have had with the Bruins. Do I want to see these Bruins legends retire with the team and only play for? Yeah, of course, all things being equal. But again, I ask, where did that get you with David Krejci and Patrice Bergeron? Where did it get you? It got you to the point where 2 years later, you sucked so bad and you managed your assets so poorly that you had to trade Brad Marchand. You had to. He was your best trade chip. You know, it's just it got you nowhere to keep those guys in uniform and have them retire as Bruins and only playing for the Bruins. Look at the Celtics, man. You don't think Paul Pierce should have retired as a Celtic? Of course he should have. But look what happened. They reset their entire franchise after that trade. I don't think the Bruins could do that with this one haul they got back, but they got a first-round pick out of it. You know, there's so much we can blame Don Sweeney for, including how poorly he managed his assets that it got to this point. But the trade of Brad Marchand in a vacuum is not a bad thing that the Bruins did. And I hate that so many Bruins fans are putting revisionist history on this and saying that it is. Like, I get it. He was great in this Stanley Cup playoff. Was he going to be that for you? Did that trade to the Panthers make the Panthers better than you? Shit, no. They were already way better than you. So to me, it doesn't do much in that sense. Instead, what I think Bruins fans should be doing, and I think largely are doing, is just being happy for Brad Marchand, man. Like, it sucks that it was the Panthers because we don't like the Panthers. But we love Brad Marchand. In 14 years after his first one, he gets that second Stanley Cup. And you look at the guys, these other legends that he played with in Boston. You look at Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci and Tuukka Rask and Zdeno Chara. And you know what I say about all of those? They deserved another Stanley Cup. Deserved is not in the dictionary for hockey, okay? Nothing is deserved. Or really all of pro sports. But if you look at the careers of those guys, you would think, yeah, they probably should have had more than one Stanley Cup. Some things were the organization's fault. Some things broke against them. Sometimes they choked. But they deserved probably winning more than one Stanley Cup when you look at the breadth of their career. Brad Marchand got that. It took leaving Boston to get there. But he got that. We should be happy for him for that. And he is a Hall of Famer. He was a Hall of Famer a couple of years ago, and now the whole hockey world is on board. Brad Marchand is a Hall of Famer. Had a video about it a couple months ago. People were telling me I was crazy in the comments. But you look at it now and add 2 Stanley Cups next to his resume, he's going to get 1,000 points. He's played in 1,000 games. He's got, he's the Bruins' all-time leader, 100-year-old franchise leader in shorthanded goals. And you look at his similarity scores, he's right up there with some of the best to ever play it. Brad Marchand's a Hall of Famer, and we should be happy for him that he had this moment. He didn't shit-talk the Bruins, although I'm sure he might take a shot at some point. Maybe he deserves that. But he's handled this thing with class. He really has. There is still a chance he comes back next year. I really, really doubt it. I'd put it at a 1% chance that he comes back to the Bruins next year. But the guy deserved to win another Stanley Cup. And he went out there and did it. I don't know why Bruins fans would be angry. And I don't think Don Sweeney's losing any sleep over this. Because I don't think he loses any sleep over any bad decision he makes. But of a line of bad decisions you can list for Don Sweeney as general manager of the Bruins, trading Brad Marchand isn't anywhere near the top. It's not. They had to do it. Should he got a better return? Yeah, I think so. Said it on March 7th. I'll say it on June 18th. Probably should have gotten a better return. I didn't like seeing anybody else on the Panthers hoist the Stanley Cup, but I was sure happy to see Brad Marchand do it. It's a reward, and I'm sure there were times throughout these 14 years, specifically the last 2 years, where he thought, I might never get back to that. Right? And, he did it in his really his first full year in the league in 2011. And Tyler Seguin was a rookie that year too, and I'm sure he's thought the same thing ever since. Like, man, I just thought that's what happened. We just won the Stanley Cup. And it's much, much different to win it as a 23-year-old versus as a 37-year-old. So I'm really happy for Brad Marchand. Remains to be seen if he brings the cup back to Boston for his day. I think there will be a lot of people happy with that. Some people will think it's trolling. But I'm happy to see Brad Marchand win the Stanley Cup. Bruins fans, what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Were you happy for Brad Marchand? Were you mad at Don Sweeney? Were you both? Let me know in the comments. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, because we are coming at you live at high noon Eastern time every weekday on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast, talking Boston sports. Check out the other videos on the channel, talking all kinds of Bruins talk. We'll have some NHL draft preview next week and what the Bruins should do. Should they trade that pick? Who should they pick with number 7? We'll talk about all of that next week. And we will, of course, see you tomorrow on a little ditty that we like to call The Cam Show.
Transform your workspace with Hanomi Ergonomics. From adjustable chairs to standing desks, we provide solutions for comfort and productivity, whether at home or in the office. Improve your posture, reduce strain, and work smarter. Visit us at hanomi.co today. That's HINOMI.co today. Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internex. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. Enjoy seamless, fast storage without compromising security. Visit Internex.com today and take control of your digital life. That's INTERNXT.com today. Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com. Tusains, we understand that maintaining a healthy lifestyle can be challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. That's why our mission is to make fitness accessible to everyone, anywhere. Committed to excellence, we adopt a user-centric approach guided by ergonomics and medical science. With a team of seasoned professionals in R&D, design, and manufacturing, we prioritize quality across our entire product line. Visit Tusains.com today and start your journey to better health. That's TOUSAINS.com.